Okay, so picture this, a high-stakes peace negotiation between the US, Israel, and Iran. Now, who do you imagine stepping in to mediate? You'd probably never guess Pakistan, right? But in one of the most surprising diplomatic moves we've seen in a while, that's exactly who's stepping up to the plate.
It's a massive question, isn't it? I mean, here's a country facing its own huge challenges, and it's walking right onto the world's most volatile stage. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why Pakistan is making this incredibly audacious bid to broker peace. So this all started popping up in headlines like this one from Al Jazeera, and it caught a lot of people completely off guard. This wasn't just some back-channel chatter. Nope, this was a formal, very public offer from Pakistan to host the whole thing.
And it wasn't a one-off thing either. TRT World immediately jumped on the key question everyone was thinking. Okay, great, but can this actually work? Which, really highlights the insane difficulty of the task Pakistan is volunteering for. And then The Guardian really hammered it home, reporting that a summit was actually being discussed. So with the headlines making it clear this is for real, it brings us back to that one huge question. Why? Why would Pakistan take on such a monumental risk? Well, the answer starts with its unique and, frankly, perilous geography. Right, so the first piece of this puzzle is just how incredibly delicate Pakistan's position is. They aren't some distant observer watching from afar. They are right in the potential blast radius of this whole conflict. Now, what's so fascinating here is how this really shows the tightrope Pakistan is forced to walk. On one side, you've got a 900-kilometer shared border and a huge domestic Shia population, which means deep, unavoidable ties to Iran. But on the other side, a critical economic dependence on Gulf states and even a mutual defense pact with Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're getting pulled in two completely opposite directions. So what can they do? Well, it pretty much forces them into this position of absolute neutrality. By condemning attacks from all sides and just begging for dialogue, they're not trying to pick a winner. They're trying to prevent a massive regional fire that would absolutely engulf them.
But let's peel back another layer here, because beyond just trying to stay out of the crossfire, there are some really powerful, self-interested reasons pushing Pakistan to take the lead on this. Just let this number sink in for a second. 90%. That is the chunk of Pakistan's oil imports that has to come through the Strait of Hormuz, the exact waterway at the very heart of this conflict. And this right here, this breaks down what that 90% figure actually means. We're talking about pure economic survival. A war in that region disrupts that energy flow, and for Pakistan, that could mean severe shortages, crippling austerity, and risking billions in investments and money sent home from the Gulf. So this peace push, at its core, it's about self-preservation. But it's not all just defense. This is also an offensive move. Think about it. If you manage to successfully mediate a major global conflict, that's a massive strategic win. It would boost Pakistan's diplomatic standing overnight, strengthen key alliances, and could unlock billions in new economic deals. This is a bid to become a really influential global player. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, this whole thing sounds incredibly ambitious, maybe even a little crazy. But here's the twist. This isn't the first time Pakistan has tried to play this exact role. See, their claim to being a credible mediator isn't just coming out of thin air. It's actually them dusting off a playbook they've used and used successfully in the past. This timeline really shows you the pattern. Back in the 1970s, Pakistan was the crucial go-between that helped broker the historic opening between the US and China. That taught them a huge lesson. They could use their unique position to punch way above their weight. Then, fast forward to the 80s, their careful neutrality during the brutal Iran-Iraq War taught them a vital lesson in survival. So what they're doing today is basically a mashup of those two experiences. They're aiming for a big diplomatic win while trying to stay strictly neutral to protect themselves. Okay, so they've got the motivation, they've got the history, but that brings us to the billion-dollar question. Can they actually pull this off? Because the obstacles are just immense. This one quote pretty much says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the biggest hurdle, the unbelievable level of public distrust. When one side is saying the wheels of diplomacy are turning, and the other side's response is, you're just talking to yourself, well, that shows you the massive canyon any mediator has to somehow bridge. And that distrust, that's just the tip of the iceberg. As you can see here, there are so many other hurdles. You've got regional heavyweights like Saudi Arabia and Russia, all with their own competing interests. And then you have intense political pressure back home in Pakistan, where the government has to balance this high-wire act with what the public wants. Success is anything but a sure thing.
But, and this is a huge but, if they can somehow navigate all of that, the payoff would be enormous. A successful deal wouldn't just cool down explosive tensions in the Middle East, it would give Pakistan immense diplomatic prestige, and, most importantly, ease those very economic pressures that are driving this whole thing in the first place.
So at the end of the day, we're left with this question. Is Pakistan's high-stakes move here a brilliant diplomatic masterstroke, perfectly leveraging its unique position for a huge win? Or is it a reckless, dangerous gamble that could see them get seriously burned in a fire they simply can't control? The stakes couldn't be higher. And honestly, the whole world is watching to see which one it turns out to be.